billion to fill, and that we've spoken to the IFS or taken a look at the IFS, looking at your proposals for changing the Bank of England's function, and that is a very difficult and long process. That is very technical. That would not happen immediately.
Well, no other central bank in the world does this. This is a complete racket with the banks. And interestingly, you know, Paul Tucker, a former Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, fully endorses our plan, as do a growing number of economists. But look, I'm going to launch, and by the way, I won't call it a manifesto, because the word association with manifesto is lie. I'm going to launch our contract on Monday, where I'll lay out all of the costings of our plans. All I can tell you is what we're doing is bold.
The BBC have been accused of misleading the public, and after years of relentless attacks on Nigel Farage, it has become crystal clear that he is no longer willing to tolerate it. He is prepared to defend his beliefs and openly challenge what he sees as media ignorance. Transitioning from the presidential election to the current turmoil within the Starmer government, Nigel Farage revealed a crucial truth to journalists with striking clarity. They do not listen to him, and more importantly, they do not listen to the public. Instead, they repeatedly ignore the real issues facing the country. From Donald Trump to anyone who dares to challenge the agendas of powerful banks and political elites, the media has shown it is willing to go to extreme lengths to damage reputations. They do not simply criticize their opponents. They pursue them with non-stop attacks and no hesitation. Yet despite this, Nigel Farage continues to show remarkable composure and delivers calm, thoughtful responses to what many see as hypocritical questions from journalists. If this can even be called journalism anymore, it appears to have drifted far from its original purpose. British politics like this one. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the British Eye. Believe it or not, over 98% of viewers watch our content without hitting the follow button. Subscribing is completely free.
What we want to do, and there's a trap here, you see. You're on benefits, you go back to work, you work more than 16 hours a week, the tax kicks in, you may as well stay on benefits. There is a terrible trap.
So hence the rationale to raise the tax threshold.
Absolutely.
That 100 billion, you say, is that from young... Do you say that number's from young people not working? So that's
that is
the
the
whole
benefits
on
bill.
benefits.
However, since the pandemic, a growing number of young people are saying they've got all sorts of psychological problems, but they're also not incentivised to go to work. We want to get people back to work.
I understand that. So the 50 billion, where will that money come from?
A lot of it will come from the racket that is going on. The government has been creating money, particularly during the pandemic. That money goes into the system, it goes into banks, the banks lodge it with the Bank of England, the Bank of England pay them interest on it. It's a racket.
During Nigel Farage's interview with his partner, Charlie State, for the BBC and The Independent, sharp and attentive viewers could not help but notice what appeared to be clear bias. The questions and the tone of the reporting gave the impression that the entire program was designed to portray Nigel as a distant leader, someone unwilling or unable to engage in meaningful discussion. Meanwhile, the urgent issues facing Britain, along with the practical solutions he put forward, were pushed into the background, almost as if they did not matter at all. Key topics that affect everyday life were barely explored, leaving viewers with a one-sided picture rather than a serious discussion of national concerns. Despite this, Nigel showed notable resilience. He focused on the problems facing the younger generation, especially those trapped in a harsh tax system that makes progress feel impossible. He spoke about working people who cannot save, cannot get ahead, and cannot achieve financial stability because of what he described as a two-tier tax system that places an unfair burden on ordinary citizens. Yet these points, central to the lives of millions, were largely ignored by the interviewers, reinforcing the sense that the real issues were never the priority.
The front page of Reform website, as it stands, and I know it's not a manifesto at this stage, I'm not quite sure, do you call it a pledge? I can't remember.
No, a contract.
A contract.
This is what we will campaign
The contract, it says you'll set out your reforms in the first 100 days, is what it says. And you then go to say it's produced with advice from independent economists, think tanks and advisors. And a moment ago you said you're not about conformity. That just sounds like everybody else. Every other political party would say, we talk to independent advisors, we talk to think tanks. You just sound like everyone else.
I've been called many things over the years, but not like everybody else.
Well, no, I'm
not.
quoting from from Reform. That's what you said. It doesn't sound radical. That just sounds like you do the same as other people. You talk to think tanks.
I've just outlined some very radical proposals. Equally, we don't think anybody should pay inheritance tax until the estate is worth £2 million. We want to lift the VAT threshold to help small businesses. I promise you, what's coming on Monday is very...
Instead of addressing the real issues, Murni repeatedly redirected the conversation, pressing him again and again on how he would fund his policies and keep his promises if he were to become Prime Minister. Her focus on large financial figures appeared less about understanding his plans and more about undermining his credibility rather than engaging with the solutions he was putting forward. This left many viewers questioning whether the interview was truly impartial or a carefully planned attempt to shape public opinion against him. The exchange felt more like a scripted performance than an open discussion, one that drowned out the serious debates and decisions that matter for Britain's future. By the end, the overall impression was clear. The country's most urgent problems had been pushed aside, hidden behind a layer of bias and quiet manipulation.
We are completely in the grip of big corporate businesses. That's who the politicians listen to. I know that from 20 years in the European Parliament. There are 5.5 million people out there, men and women running small businesses, acting as sole traders, that frankly are having the most difficult time. I'm on their side and I'll fight for them.
Our time is short. Can I ask you about your comments about Rishi Sunak? And I think I'm quoting you right to say that you said about him, this is following D-Day.
Yeah.
So to put it in context, that was the moment when he left early and has been criticised. So you said he doesn't understand our culture.
Although many tried to challenge Nigel Farage over his answers and his past political links to figures like Rishi Sunak, he responded with confidence and clarity. He pointed out what many people already believe. Sunak was a deeply ineffective Prime Minister. The problem, Farage argued, is not only that Rishi's background is far removed from the lived experience of working-class people trying to get ahead, but also that the same tired phrases are repeated while the real needs of ordinary citizens are ignored. He noted that this pattern has been raised repeatedly in connection with Starmer as well, yet many still overlook a basic truth. You cannot keep pursuing bad policies just to stay in power. At some point, reality catches up. Farage suggested that this is not about a lack of intelligence. Keir Starmer clearly understands the consequences of his decisions. The issue, he implied, is that he simply does not care. Farage then referenced another decision that has angered many people. The Labour Party being instructed to vote against an investigation into serious criminal allegations involving organised abuse in the UK. For him, that moment made everything clear. It showed how far the party was willing to go to avoid uncomfortable scrutiny. At that point, the pressure of his answers appeared to shift the dynamic of the interview, forcing Nigel Farage to move the conversation in a different direction.
Very different.
You have a freedom, and you must recognise this, given what you previously said about how few MPs, even you, think you will get relative to the Parliament. It could be a big jump for you as a party, but relative to the Parliament.
Well, we'll see.
It gives you a freedom to say stuff, doesn't it? That you're not going to have to back this up and say we couldn't do it.
What I'm saying is this. We have a Labour Party that's won already. The election is over. We all know that. Your viewers all know that. Their thinking on economics, on all of the key issues of our lives, is actually remarkably similar to the Conservative Party. I'm arguing that for democracy to work, governments need to be challenged. And I think I'm in a far better position to do that than either Ed Davey from the Lib Dems, and Rishi Sunak won't be there. But the Tories are so divided, they don't stand for anything.
For those who watched the interview, it was impossible to ignore the clear bias on display. Farage raised serious concerns about young people trapped in a harsh state tax system, unable to save money or achieve any real financial stability. Yet Munchety appeared to brush past these points, quickly steering the conversation toward how Farage planned to fund his policies. In doing so, she completely sidestepped the deeper structural problems he was highlighting. This left many viewers confused. Was this genuine journalism, or an attempt to undermine Farage's credibility? At that moment, it became clear to many that the BBC was approaching the interview with a particular agenda. The exchange felt like a calculated effort to damage Nigel Farage's reputation rather than explore the issues being raised. Earlier, Farage had described himself as a victim of what he called a corrupt media culture that protects the establishment. When Charlie made comments that appeared to question his credibility, Farage responded with irony. The attempt to weaken his position was obvious and visibly irritated him. However, instead of reacting emotionally, he showed notable restraint, a quality essential in politics. Drawing on his experience, Farage remained calm and focused, confidently restating his policies and stressing his commitment to tackling Britain's most urgent problems if elected. As has often been noted, political debates can be unforgiving, and Farage showed he was prepared to stand his ground. He firmly stated that his views were no different from those expressed by others, and that he was presenting a legitimate challenge to anyone trying to dismiss or discredit him.
He doesn't know where the centre ground of opinion in this country is. Look, Rishi is Winchester College, Oxford University, Goldman Sachs. He has no connection with working people in this country at all. To whom, by the way, what happened 80 years ago is something to be immensely proud of. And the point of and I was there voluntarily, I wanted to be there. The point of it was to honour those last remaining remnants of that generation that did those remarkable
Can I be clear? You're saying his previous job means he doesn't understand the culture. I mean, you were a trader yourself, weren't you?
Yeah, I wasn't at Goldman Sachs working in a back
To
room.
most people out there, that won't make much difference.
I get on with people.
Sure, I understand the difference.
I get on with people of all backgrounds, all classes. Rishi Sunak lives in this very, very narrow little world.
What is even more worrying is that other news outlets and independent media voices have also faced clear bias from the BBC. This has led to a wave of unanswered questions. Figures from GB News have repeatedly pointed out what they describe as obvious inaccuracies and transparent manipulation during prime ministerial debates. The real shock came when Channel 4, often criticized for its own double standards in how it presents stories, dismissed the grooming scandal as false and unfounded. For many viewers, this moment reinforced a growing belief that trusting mainstream media has become a risky gamble. More than ever, they seem unable to hide their practices, exposing not only misleading reporting, but also the narratives they have pushed on society for years. Their failure to maintain credibility makes it increasingly clear to many people that large media organizations no longer serve the public interest. Instead, they appear to protect their own priorities and those of powerful backers. This reality fuels anger and frustration among people who are searching for truth and fairness. That said, it doesn't mean Nigel has backed down. He has continued to challenge and expose what he sees as media bias with force and determination, showing a level of resolve that many supporters find motivating and worthy of respect. What are your thoughts on this video? Share your opinions in the comments, and we'll see you next time.